You're listening to Sexpert with me, Renee, where we say words like piece of shit, motherfucker, cocksucker, cunt. We get so dirty that even your mother's soap bar can't clean our mouths. You've been warned.
Welcome to Sexpert with me and Renee, where we talk everything sex. Get ready for awkward topics, inappropriate jokes, foul language, and a little bit of education. We are no doctors, just young adults looking to inform our generation about sex so they can live healthier, naughtier lives. I'm Mia Renee, your host. Are you ready? Hi guys, welcome to Sexpert, where we teach our generation how to lead healthier and naughtier lives. I'm Mia Renee, your host, and today we are talking about virginity. What is virginity? And what's it like being a virgin? A guy's perspective versus a girl's perspective. Also tips on actually losing your virginity. And we had listeners submit their virginity stories. Today I am accompanied with my two of my wonderful co-hosts, Amb and Mason. How are you two today?
Tired.
I'm good.
Tired.
But active.
How are you, Mia?
I'm good. I'm alright. I gotta get up early tomorrow, but I'm just rocking it right now. Madison couldn't join us for today's episode because the bitch is at the beach again, so she can just go fuck herself is the moral of this story. She has been sending us a bunch of pictures, and I'm just sick and damn tired of it, if you ask me.
You gotta admit, it was a pretty sunset, though. You gotta admit it was a pretty sunset.
Oh, it was a pretty sunset. Not as pretty as the one I don't know. I'm just really upset. I'm just so upset. But we were on vacation, the Sexpert crew, this last week, so we wanted to thank all the listeners for being patient while they waited a whole nother week for a new episode. God forbid. But we all needed it. And by we, I know I definitely did. I don't know about you guys, but we took a short little break. We are back this week with episode 8, and we are talking all about virginity. And of course, I ran some Twitter polls for this episode. So if you haven't followed me yet on Twitter, follow me on fucking Twitter. It's at Mia Renee Cole. That's basically all of my social media. So I put out 2 Twitter polls that people participated in. And the first one that I have here asks, how old were you when you lost your virginity? 10% of the people that responded said they were 12 to 14 years of age. 30% said they were 15 to 16 years of age. 40%, and the largest total, said they were 17 to 18 years of age. And 20% of people said they were 19 years or older when they lost their virginity. So thank you for everyone that participated in that poll. And then I ran another one because I just wanted to know everything about people. I said, how was your first time? So 26% of people said I'm still a virgin. What? Out of the total number of people that participated, 22% said that it was great, 9% of people said that it was painful, and 43%, our largest total, said it was just really awkward. And we will be talking about our personal virginity stories and first time stories in this episode, and hopefully our listeners will be able to relate. So if you haven't followed me on Twitter, it's at Mia Renee Cole. I am that on Instagram as well as Pinterest, Snapchat. I don't know of any other ones off the top of my head at the moment. But with Snapchat, we are doing a Snapchat project. So if you are listening to an episode of Sexpert, if you want to snap a selfie of you, preferably wearing clothes, of you listening to Sexpert, Snapchat that to me at Mia Renee Cole. I'll screenshot it and post your beautiful, beautiful self all over social media. And if you don't want your face in the picture, you can just kind of Snapchat the area where you're listening to Sexpert. I just kind of want to see where people are listening. I think that's really cool. You can also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Sexpert with Mia Renee. And it's the actual word with, no W hyphen, or not hyphen, backslash, none of that shit. It's Sexpert with Mia Renee Cole, with Mia Renee, and you can find us sexpert.podbean.com, etc., etc., etc. I'm plugging everything right now. Absolutely everything. And Madison, you can find her in her usual spots. I don't think she's posted anything from the beach yet, but I'm sure she will, and it'll be beautiful. Amber, where can people find you?
Okay, my Instagram is Queen Amb, just the word queen and then Amb, And then my Twitter is I hate Amber. Hate with 2 A's.
Perfecto. And Mason is a robot. So,
True that.
so moving forward, today's episode is not really super structured like our other episodes are. We are just talking about virginity. This is the episode of questions. So, with the first question, what the fuck is virginity? What do you guys think virginity is? Take a second to think on it, or please speak immediately so there's not an awkward
I guess
silence.
for me, my definition is just like textbook. Like, if you haven't been married, you're a virgin.
Alright. And Mason?
I agree with Amber. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean,
So if you haven't been penetrated, or you haven't penetrated someone else.
yeah.
So then what about lesbians?
I mean, that could technically count as penetration, like fingering.
Right?
Yeah, so finger penetration. Alright, I gotcha. So, virginity is really just unique to everyone. And I don't like to say there's one single definition of virginity. The, like, kind of overall accepted definition of virginity is definitely the penetration one that you guys mentioned. And I feel like, though, in today's world with, you know, all of our different sexual orientations and gender identifying people, that you can't really limit it to just penetration. And unfortunately, textbooks do that, but textbooks say a lot of shit that you shouldn't believe. But I believe virginity is unique to everyone. So for some people, virginity is penetration, like vaginal intercourse. So like they could have anal sex, but they're still a virgin. Or for some people, it's oral sex. If they have oral sex, they've lost like a part of their virginity or their whole virginity. Or if they've been fingered or something like that. Regardless of how you identify, whether it be virgin or non-virgin or part virgin or something like that, virginity is completely unique to the beholder. Or not really the beholder, but the person who holds the virginity or the lack thereof. So so I feel like it's definitely more of a unique definition. It's really hard to place like an overall textbook definition on it, but I definitely do think there are stigmas around virginity and labeling people as virgins, which leads us into kind of the next point. Like, what's up with being a virgin? How is it different for guys versus girls? Like, how are they stigmatized? How are they kind of like, are they bullied at all for being virgins at a certain age or whatnot? So I really wanted to talk a lot about that today as well. Mason, you said you had some stuff about like virginity stigmas.
I do.
Alrighty.
See, after my first time, because I personally lost my virginity.
You lost your virginity at like 10.
I was like 13. But,
you were a baby.
But I never told anyone. I never really spoke about it because of the details surrounding it. It was.
Are you going to mention those at all on today's show?
Yeah, I think I might. I'm not.
All
I
right.
haven't decided yet. But all I'm going to say now is that the details surrounding it made it difficult to talk about because it was slightly awkward to break those details.
Right.
So I didn't tell anyone. For like a solid 4 years, I didn't even tell like my best friend. No one knew.
Like how you lost your virginity or the fact that you weren't a virgin?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. So as far as they knew, I never had sex.
Oh, damn.
So I kind of kept it. Just sort of to myself. It was. I mean, it was a secret, and
yeah.
And I definitely, not from anyone who wasn't a friend, but just like friends, like giving each other shit and just like doing what friends do as guys. Mm-hmm. I totally got a lot of flack for still being a virgin as I got older because I think for still being a virgin, but that's like in quotations, right? Because because
they didn't know.
My closer friends at that time both also lost their virginity around the same time that I did.
All right.
They didn't. So they were kind of, I guess, like, I don't know what you would say, like they were ahead of the game or whatever you want to call it. And yeah. And I definitely got a lot of shit for that. But I mean, I feel like that's something that guys do, like to
Yeah.
their friends and everything. I know that I have friends now who are still virgins, and I tease them about it every now and then. Definitely not the way I was teased. I'm not.
So, how are you teased versus how you tease your friend?
It was. I mean, I don't know. It really depended on the situation. Being younger, dumber, and
Oh my
whatnot.
God.
I used to get a lot of flack. I used to be called. It's a lot of like rude shit just by friends, and it was funny at the time. It was just we laughed about it. I would dish it back
But that's
out. But it was
really
like,
impressive because you never told anybody.
right.
For like 4 years. That shows a huge maturity on your part with the situation, which hopefully we get to hear about later. But
yeah.
yeah. So like that shows a huge maturity on your part because I know a lot of guys, especially in high school, which of course you weren't in high school at the time when you lost your virginity, but a lot of high school age guys, when they have sex, like to tell their friends about it.
Right.
Or at least say, like who they fucked. They don't really, guys don't really go into detail. At least in my experience.
I honestly, aside from the age difference, which I guess I will get into later now that I mention it, but aside from the age difference of what surrounded my first time, the main reason I really didn't tell anyone was because that girl, my family, my friends, her family, her friends, were all so closely intertwined that if anyone outside of she and I found out, there was a huge risk of everyone finding out. And again, because of the age difference and...
Which was quite significant.
Right. Because of all of that, it could have produced a very horrible situation that none of us wanted to deal with. So I mostly kept it quiet because of that.
Yeah.
So
back to the stigmas and stuff.
I think...
With guys teasing other guys.
I mean...
Because I feel like that's definitely... There's no girl-on-girl teasing with virginity.
Okay.
Some bitches may be, shameful. But I never personally had that experience. But I've never... I've only seen the teasing among guys. But I've, never really seen it firsthand. Mm-hmm. So what's it like?
I think the way my friends kind of portrayed it was that losing your virginity... The younger you lost your virginity, the more of a gung-ho, manly man you were. Is that...
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it was kind of... I don't know. It was just used as an insult towards, your pride and your masculinity. And again, these are just, I've never had anyone who I didn't consider a close friend ever, give me shit about it. So, I know that there are people out there who do. I'm not friends with any of them, as far as I know. And the only time I've ever had that happen to me was just when it was just me and friends messing with each other. So I don't hold anything against them. I don't want people to think that whoever these friends are, that they're horrible people. It was a genuine joking manner, but I think a lot of guys do that. I think it's a normal thing for guys to do, especially at those younger ages, kind of getting into high school, maybe through sophomore and junior year and whatnot. And it was just a lot of shit, calling each other gay and stuff like that. It's he obviously isn't into girls because he's never had sex and stuff like that. He's not even tried.
Okay, so it's almost devaluing your masculinity.
Yeah, it really just is devaluing your masculinity in any way possible, in any avenue that they see fit. And it's a really broad topic. I mean, I could probably come up with 1,000 examples on paper, but I'm just going to leave it to everyone else to be sort of imaginative. And just imagine what you think a guy would tell another guy on the subject. This is not hard to figure out.
But I know, but I was sitting here asking you all sorts of questions.
Right.
For guys, it's more just a joking manner then. It's not really...
Right.
Feelings might be hurt deep, deep, deep down under the surface.
Now...
Guys brush it off.
Personally,
all right.
I have known a friend who to this day is 19 and is still a virgin. 19 years old, he's still a virgin, and I have wondered in the past, not only because of that, but the way that he acts around people and how timid and shy he is, if he might in fact be gay. I never asked him, I never brought it up with him, but it's been in the back of my head before. And eventually he kind of broke that idea when he started trying to talk to girls and stuff like that. And good on him, breaking out of his little box and whatnot.
His shell, yeah.
But it's weird because I think it is strange for people to go so long without it happening. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but because I think it's just something that most people do. But obviously, when you look at a large group of people and a lot of things that majority does, there's obviously going to be tons of people in a minority who haven't done it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a virgin, no matter what your age is. It's totally just up to you. It's your life. Have fun. Do what you want. And I think some people behind your back or to your face will eventually maybe give you shit for it. But I think it's better just to brush it off because it's not important.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this kind of goes into what I wanted to sort of talk about for guys specifically is I think I lost mine at an early age, but because I didn't tell anyone, I definitely felt a lot of pressure to tell them. I felt a lot of pressure to brag about it. And eventually, admittedly, I kind of did. When I finally told my two closest friends about the whole ordeal, I kind of bragged a little bit. Not like dirty bragging or anything, but I think the most important thing is that if you're not ready, don't do it, because I think you'll regret it later on.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that in a few.
Bingo.
Perfect. Amber, let's talk about you for a minute.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and spill the beans early. I'm still a virgin, so I have like a lot of things I could say, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like being a girl and being a virgin for so long is not like weird, but like not looked down upon. Like you're still like a flower, like you're still precious and like.
Yeah, like compared to guys who it's more pressure to lose it early.
Yeah.
Lose your virginity.
Yeah, like it's not like, oh, you haven't done it yet? Why haven't you done it yet? It's more like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's kind of weird, but I mean, whatever. Like, we don't see the same teasing as everybody else.
Have you, like, ever experienced any, like, awkward situations or, like, any shaming from girls or guys or anything of the sort?
I've never experienced anything like that from girls, but I haven't experienced anything like that from girls. I definitely have from like guys that I've tried to like talk to, air quotations around talk to, like be in a relationship with. It's just weird.
With
like,
guys that you've tried to get in relationships with, they've kind of like shamed you in a way, like.
Yeah, it's more like they'll question why, and they'll question like if you're like a prude or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So they think you're a prude. Okay. Alright, okay. Mason, do you like have any like insight on that or
I wanna say I don't know. I've definitely like met women who older than me now. I mean, like adult women living on their own, you know, have their own house, you know, a career and everything, like 30-something-year-old woman before who was a virgin. And I did wonder why. I was like, okay, how does that work? Like what happens in your life that you get to that point without having sex? I'm not judging her on it. I was just curious, like how she managed to do that. Was it something she didn't want to do until she was married? Was it a religious reason or whatever? But I don't think I've ever like thought to myself, wow, that person must be like a prude or they like there's something wrong with them. But I've definitely been like
Mason.
curious.
Yeah, and that's definitely like I identify as asexual, so I don't feel the need or want to like do anything. And it's really hard for people, especially boys most times, to understand that.
Because asexual is like asexuality is not a highly like understood sexuality for like the mainstream, especially with guys. So, or really anybody, but in your situation with guys, which is you know, like a struggle that you see. And we definitely should have an episode coming up soon where we talk about asexuality, you and I, and like just really just get into it and maybe talk about different types of like sexualities like that are like the more minority like sexuality identifications. So I just want to talk a bit like about how we all had personally like experienced being virgins throughout like our teenhood and whatnot. And for my personal self, I didn't get any shame or bullying from anybody, but I had a lot of personal shame for being a virgin. Like, I felt like I shouldn't have been one. Like, I felt like I needed to lose it. But at the same time, I wasn't comfortable. Like, for the longest time, I wasn't comfortable around guys. I wasn't comfortable doing anything sexual with guys. And I think that came from just an experience, right? Like, I had the lack of experience, so I was uncomfortable with guys. But I felt like the sooner I would lose my virginity, the more comfortable I'd be and the more guys would like me. That was my mindset in high school. And fortunately, like, I waited until I was comfortable. But I felt like for the longest time in high school, I just felt like I shouldn't, at that point, have been a virgin. I felt like I should have lost it already. Because I had all these guys, like, and a lot of these older guys that were, like, that would hit on me and were into me and would want to, like, see me and take me out and stuff. And I would usually decline them because I was nervous they'd make a move. Like a very sexual move. And I knew that it would make me uncomfortable. And I don't know, there's just a lot of personal shame on my part. And I felt like it was because I was attractive and I, like, could be very sexy. And I wanted to portray myself as not sexy, but just, like, appealing to men sexually, which I guess would be sexy ad. I don't know. It's not like I was dressing like a slut, but, like, I wanted to appeal to men sexually, but without having sex. So I guess you could say I was a huge fucking tease in high school.
You need to calm down, Mia. You need to calm down.
I was one of those girls. And, like, you know, both Mason and Amber have known me since middle school. And Mason and I went to the same high school, so he definitely... we hung out a bit. I don't know what I did around you, like, if you remember anything I ever did. I don't know how I portrayed myself in high school, but... You were busy. You were a
busy bee.
I'm always a busy bee.
You're always doing something.
Yeah, yes. which is probably why it took me forever to finally lose my fucking virginity. I was too busy. Okay. And it's so funny. I attribute my busyness to, like, everything that isn't happening in my life. But I never had anyone shame me, but there was definitely a lot of personal shame because I felt like I should have been having sex. And it was just, like, the weirdest thing ever. And so we wanted to, like, address, like, how, and when I say we, I mean but I want all of us to do it, to address, like, how people should deal with the pressure to have sex from themselves or from others. And of course, Mason said it already, but, like, the ultimate rule is to not have sex until you're actually, like, comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, and that's what I did. I waited until I was 100% comfortable with the person in the situation. And because of that, my sex life has been great, and I have, like, pretty much no regrets, you know, hashtag no regrets with sex for the most part. But, you know, Mason, you talked about, like, with your whole situation, your situation is just so interesting.
Yeah, that's a word for it.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. But Amber, like, as you were saying, how you have these guys sometimes that'll call you a prude if you're talking to them and, like, thinking about, like, pursuing them, like, for a relationship, and then you tell them that you're a virgin or you tell them that you're asexual and they call you a prude. So how do you deal with that? What do you do?
I just tell them to fuck off. I don't deal with, like, if you're not comfortable with how I'm gonna handle something, then you don't need to be there. You're not a person that I need to try to be with.
And I wish everyone was that strong. That is so fucking awesome. Like, honestly, if anyone ever pressures anyone to do anything, you should always tell them to just, like, fuck off. Like, you should never be pressured to do something that you don't want to do, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. And the mindset I had in high school was the whole comfortable thing. I didn't want to lose my virginity feeling uncomfortable. I didn't want to, like, feel uncomfortable. And I was very I was very self-conscious about my body in high school. And I still am to an extent, but I was very self-conscious in high school, which is funny because I was, like, the hottest body-wise in high school than I have ever been. I was so self-conscious that I that led into my, like, I guess, fear of having sex, almost. That and, like, the pain and the intimacy and, like, all that shit.
Yep. All those things.
All those things.
All those things I can hardly relate to for my first time.
Do we want to talk about our first times now? I feel like this is a good time to transition to first time stories. And
Yeah.
Amber, I'm sorry you can't join us for this
Oh,
one.
I mean, that's perfectly okay.
She's like, I will happily listen. Mason is taking a swig of his V8 to prepare
I
himself.
should have drank for this. Okay. I believe,
Do we need to pause it for a minute so you can go?
was it during the blowjob episode that I had mentioned that if I told this story and the right person listened to the podcast, they would immediately recognize who I was talking about?
Maybe.
I know that was some episode like that. Like they were just going to listen to it and they were going to realize they're just like, that motherfucker, I can't believe him. And this is that story.
You did in that episode.
it was because it was talking about being in a tent because it was a big tent.
love
It was
this
a large
story. I'm
tent.
sorry.
Let's be fair here. But her brother was in the tent at the time.
I fucking love this story. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing at your story,
No,
Mason,
no,
but
it's
this
pretty
is
great.
my favorite story in the entire world.
So, I was young, and I totally
You're
didn't know any
9
better.
and a half.
I didn't know the consequences of doing something like this for the first time with someone. I didn't understand what that would be
At
later on in
13.
life. I didn't understand the repercussions of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Oh, shit.
I'm not talking about like babies and stuff like that. I mean, emotionally and mentally, the repercussions of it and how that would change that person in your head for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about any of that. I was just completely horny and just wanted to do it. And
And you probably said that at 13, right?
yeah. So
Let's do it.
we're in a tent and it's late at night and we're everyone's asleep and we were like fooling around and whatnot and because we were camping. It was a camping like thing out near the parkway somewhere. And more or less one thing turned into another and was like, okay, well, I guess this is the night that we're having sex. And we did. No protection, no anything.
Mason!
I know, just nothing. Just completely...
Well, it's because you're a robot. You're fine.
Right? I'm a sterile robot. Who's emotional. Who orgasms emotionally. Let's not forget.
Oh my god, yes. Please keep going.
So, long story short, we do the thing. It's the first time for both of us, which I think was like...
And remind me of her age.
Yeah, let's get to that part. She was, and it's going to be important here that you note that I say
You were-
older. 6 years older than me.
And so you were
I was
13, and she
13.
was legally able to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
No, she
No,
wasn't.
she was-
No,
yeah,
she was 19. She was 19. She was 19.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a math person.
So now when the right person listens to this and they realize what's going to happen, I'm going to be murdered in my sleep or something like that. Like they're going to come and find me because I had sex
I'm
with
so
their
glad
sister.
you took this risk.
Yeah. I'm doing this for you and for the listeners.
So you were 13 and she was 19.
Yes. We had known each other for a while at that point.
Obviously, she
Yeah.
was like your best friend's sister.
It was like going on knowing each other for about 7 years at that point, and we had kind of been like fooling around and stuff for about like a month. Not a month, I'm sorry, for about like a year prior to that event in the tent.
Okay, and I'm going to stop you for a second for like our listeners, because like they don't know you, they don't know what you look like now, unless they're on our Facebook page, in which case there is a picture of you on our Facebook page.
Right.
But so they don't know what you were like at 13. He was literally the exact same fucking person at 13.
Yeah, more or less.
Like, looked the same, sounded the same, acted the same. So it's like he wasn't like a kid that hadn't yet hit puberty. Mm-mm. I mean, like, you probably had a fucking beard at 13. I don't fucking remember.
It did
like,
have,
you have a
it did
beard
have
now.
some facial hair.
You had a bit of facial hair.
Yeah.
Like, so he was pretty mature physically and mentally at that age.
Right. And I think that's
to be fucking a 19-year-old.
I think that's a big thing going into
Yeah.
it. Full disclosure, that is not the only time I've had sex with women older than me. And I think a lot of that has to do with my appearance, my voice, whatever, just who I am, I guess.
Your sexy, deep,
Yeah.
rumbly voice.
Say grumpy. I'm grumpy.
Rumbly.
Oh,
No,
rumbly?
rumbly.
Yeah. I am grumpy sometimes. So
You're like
I'll take it.
Aslan.
So, funny part about this story, she's 6 years older than me. And the day,
Mm-hmm.
and of course I'm 13 at this time. I don't really know how pregnancy works I get it. Like, if you finish.
Like, you don't get it now?
Right. No,
Oh,
I
boy.
get it now. I'm just like back
Okay.
then. Back then,
like,
the real
oh.
extent of my knowledge was like, if I finished inside of her, she might get
It
pregnant.
was North Carolina public schools.
Right, but I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about, like pre-cum or anything like that. I had no idea. So I thought that you had a significant chance of getting pregnant off of like pre-ejaculation and stuff like that, or like pre-cum and whatever. So the next day, and this is the icing on the cake, I think, is the next day, I'm like totally freaking out inside my own head, thinking that there's a chance she's going to get pregnant now. And that entire next day was spent with her family, who was celebrating the birth of like her cousin. So she's like, the entire day she's like walking around carrying a baby. The entire time I'm thinking about like the consequences of what happened last night.
At 13, that's impressive.
Yeah. And then going on.
Most 13-year-olds probably think babies come out of assholes. Like, to be quite frank. Like,
I'm sure some of them do. Some of the people I've met, I wouldn't doubt it. But,
right, yeah.
But moving on into the future, eventually, just being that much older than I am, her life, she kind of started into life very quickly, is getting married soon, whatever. I don't hardly ever see her. My parents and her parents are still friends and whatnot. But I think the consequence of all of this, and I honestly wish I hadn't done it, because that person is now so insignificant in my life, it almost seems trivial and meaningless, and now it's just a weird, awkward story that I hate telling.
Well, thank you for
I
telling
know,
me.
and now I'm here telling
and
you.
our listeners.
Yes,
I love it.
this is what I do.
But I'd also like to reiterate that she was 19, he was 13, and it was in a tent shared with her brother,
Yeah.
who was asleep. And were there other people in the tent?
Yeah,
I swear to God, were her parents in the tent?
her parents were not in there.
Oh my God, your parents?
No. My parents were not in there. But we went camping with my parents. They were
Yeah,
They
like
were in
next-
a tent less than like 20 feet away.
Yeah.
Her younger sister was in the tent asleep as well, and her sister
Yeah.
is, I think, 8 months younger than me. This is
Oh,
pretty much
wow.
our age.
Yeah.
So
So talk about an intimate surrounding, right?
no,
Like,
not really. It's just
you were really just surrounded by loved ones. I'm sorry,
was
I'm making it so much
horrible.
worse, but this is
Yeah.
like my favorite story. It's my favorite sex story, like, ever. I think, for another person. I love it.
it's interesting. It's different.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna hear it. Someone's gonna know. I'm gonna get like a text message or an email one day, like, we need to talk.
I would like to say that I'm sorry that Mason fucked your sister.
That's true.
But shit happens.
It's true.
So it could have been worse. He could have been your niece or nephew's father. So he's not.
Her idea, even.
It was
Yeah,
her
she
idea.
told me- she
let's
told me-
add that in.
Yeah.
Let's add that in so they don't get so mad at
So
you.
she told me that she wanted to, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I think I'm ready. I wasn't. I didn't know that. I thought I was,
Wait,
but I
so,
wasn't.
okay, I want details here. I'm sorry. So you were, like, making out in the tent.
Well, we're doing a little bit more than that, but yeah, we'll just
Well,
say
okay,
making
like
out.
handsy, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what were you doing? Handsy, any oral?
Not at that exact second.
Right.
Right.
Oh my God. Okay. And what were her words to you? Do you remember?
Literally, it was just, I want to. Because we had talked about it a lot. Like,
and you were
prior.
both virgins. Okay.
So,
that makes
so
sense.
when she said I
Yeah.
want to, I just knew. I knew exactly what she meant.
And you said what?
I said okay. I just said
You
okay,
were like-
and then it just happened.
voice
This
crack
wasn't
and
romantic. There's no real story to this other than what happened.
Was it missionary?
No. She she was on top. Starting
Nice.
out. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't like shit. I would have bragging about this.
Yeah.
Like, damn, like you get her on top. Like shit. Round of applause, Mason. I'm so proud. That's great. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. I'm sorry if you become a raging alcoholic after the end of this episode.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have to drink to sleep tonight.
Yeah. Take some like, I don't know, some Benadryl and like get under the sheets and
It'll all work out.
maybe.
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. If you get any death threats, just let me
Hey,
know and I'll pull
She
out
didn't
my
get pregnant.
lawyers.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we reminded the listeners of that, or else you would have had a 6-year-old child.
It's true. I am not a father. I do not have a 6-year-old
For
child.
all the ladies listening, Mason is not a father.
It's true.
He is without obligations to a child.
I might have a dad voice. I might have a dad bod, but I'm not a dad.
The dad bod. Yes, I love that. I love that, and I love you. So let's talk about my story, because who doesn't love talking about themselves? Am I right? Except Mason,
no.
with maybe his last story there. So my story is like, it's funny, but it's like the complete opposite.
Okay.
Like, I lost my virginity to... I'm hearing noises, sorry. I lost my virginity to a boyfriend of mine. So I was romantically involved with him.
Yeah, at least you were dating.
Yeah. We had been dating for less than a month, I think, when it happened. So we didn't really wait. He was 2 years older than me at the time. So I was... Actually, guess my age. How old do you think I was? I like to play this game.
How old are you now?
I'm sorry.
I don't know what your birthday is.
How old am I now? 19.
Okay, I'm going to say you were 17.
Damn, you go, Mason. Yeah, a lot of people guess like younger. A lot of people think 15 or 16 for me. But yeah, so I had just turned 17. Like, I wasn't even a week of 17 yet.
Okay.
And he was 2 years older than me, and he was also a virgin, which for me was very important. I kind of wanted to lose my virginity to someone who was also a virgin.
Right.
Which, totally up to the person. I, thinking back on it now, could have gone either way with it. Like, you know, losing it to someone who wasn't a virgin would have made it less awkward, would have made it go a lot smoother. But it was still, like, I'm not going to be like, it was a great time, but, like, it's not a time I regret. So he was staying at my house that night. God, I hope my father doesn't listen to this episode. My dad doesn't listen to these episodes, but it's just like, God, if he listened to this,
like, he chooses
sucked,
this
right?
one.
Like, he listened to this episode. So he was staying the night at my house, and as my dad wasn't home, and we had gotten, like, we'd ordered so much fucking Papa John's. Like, we'd gotten, like, so many chicken wings and, like, pizza. It was crazy. Right, and so we were, like, making out on my couch downstairs, and we'd been talking about, like, having sex and stuff. And at that point, well, not at that point, but up until a few weeks before that, when we were still, like, dating and stuff, or when we were dating, even a few weeks in dating, he thought I wasn't a virgin.
Right.
As a lot of people my age thought, because I talked so much about sex, like, openly with everybody, but I just knew so much. So he said, like, something like, do you want to go do it? I don't know what he said. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And, like, so I was nervous or whatnot. And so we went upstairs, left, like, all the pizza and chicken wings on the coffee table. And I have a fucking dog, and this did not cross my mind with the shit.
Right, because you're about to have sex.
So, like, yeah. So we go upstairs to my bedroom, and are making out, and, like, we get undressed, and puts me on my bed. And, I mean, there was, like, some struggle, like, because he was nervous. So he actually, at one point, we tried 2 different times that night, and this was the first time, but at one point he did get blue balls. Like, he was just so nervous. Mm-hmm. Like, so it wasn't great. It hurt for me. It wasn't, like, I was expecting more of a tearing pain, even though I know that you don't tear or pop anything when you lose your virginity as a female, but it was more of a stabbing pain for me. Like, when he would hit me, it was very stabbing. It was an interesting pain. Only time I've ever felt that pain, so, like my initiation, I guess, into the world of sex, I don't know, but it was not pleasant, and, I didn't bleed or anything, so that was good. And then we went to go hang out with friends, of which one of them is at the beach right now, and not on this episode like she should be, so we went to go hang out with friends at a local park in the evening, really sketch, and came back to my house and tried again, and, like, when we had left to go hang out with friends, I'd been like, oh fuck, the dog ate all the chicken. He'd eaten all the chicken and all the pizza and shit. So I just put the boxes away, and I was like, fuck. And we went out, and then he stopped by the store to pick up more condoms because he'd had condom troubles, you know, just having to switch them out and stuff with our, like, you know, virginity, sex struggles, or whatever. It's not like a cute story at all. And then we come back, and we try doing it again, but he has to run out to his car for like an extra condom or something. And the dog had shit on the rug. Like,
Damn.
This is when the story gets good. They had, like, major, like, diarrhea shit on the rug because he'd eaten all that shit. And we hadn't let him out because we had other things on our minds. And the guy, whose name I almost said, actually went running out to his car, like, he put on pants to get, like, a condom, but he ended up stepping in, like, dog shit on his way out to the car. This is an awful story, and it's great, right? And I heard him go like, ah, and I just remember being like, what the hell is going on? But I just stayed in my room, me and my little naked self. And like, so he eventually came back in. It took him a while, and he didn't tell me about the dog shit incident until like way afterwards or something.
It's like, by the way, your dog shit in the floor.
Yeah.
You might go clean
He was
that
like, by the way, I stepped in your dog shit.
up. Right.
That's how I lost my virginity. The end. Wasn't that cute? Wasn't that cute?
Damn.
Yeah.
I almost
you.
prefer my story. Jesus Christ. I was like, okay, this seems pretty normal. And you're like, the dog shit on the fucking rug.
And then it wouldn't come out of the rug. That was an interesting thing to explain to my father. I was like, so he shit on the rug. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's all pushed down in there. I have no clue. Like,
Looks like a man's
Okay.
foot. What's going on here?
I can track. Oh my god. Yeah, so that
Mia.
was my story. Oh man.
Okay.
Okay, and then my sex life only got better from there. There has been no shit involved with my sex life since then.
Yet.
Mainly because I haven't done anal and refuse to do anal. Alright, so moving on, because we're actually at 41 minutes, and I don't want to run this too far over. I'm going to just mention this BuzzFeed article called 19 Things You Should Know Before You Lose Your Virginity. It'll be listed in our show notes. And it's cute and informative and fun, and just a quick scroll through it is just a great little way to just inform yourself about virginity, especially debunking some myths about what virginity is and how to lose your virginity and stuff like that. But I did want to talk about with losing your virginity, like tips like on things to remember, like when losing your virginity, how to make everything go better and flow better. And the number one thing, as we've said like 2 or 3 times already, is be comfortable, right?
Yes.
Don't ever have sex with someone if you're in an uncomfortable situation. But you want to be comfortable with this person. So you want to make sure they're a trustworthy partner, that you're comfortable with this person. And when I say trustworthy partner, trustworthy depends entirely on a personal definition, but this can include, but it's not limited to, like, knowing that they don't, when they say or, like, prove to you they don't have STIs or something, knowing that they don't, but, you know, make sure they haven't used condom anyway, maybe knowing that they won't go tell everybody, that they keep their sex life more private, or knowing that if they say they love you or something, they really do love you, like, bullshit like that, whatever. So, as you can tell, I'm a very trustworthy partner. Yeah. So, be comfortable with your partner, with yourself, with the situation. If you are uncomfortable, don't have sex. Never be pressured to have sex by someone else or even yourself. When you're ready, you'll know that you're ready. Right? Like, Mason, your situation's a little, like...
A little weird.
You were just, like, horny AF.
I think I had sex because I wanted to have sex, and I later regretted it because that person...
Mm-hmm.
Because I just think it was the wrong person at the right time.
Right.
And, I mean, oh well. You know, I can't take it back, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, you know, harp on it
Yeah.
or anything, but oh well.
Yeah. So, but knowing that you're ready is super important. So, and you know that you're not ready if you're fucking uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But I wasn't uncomfortable at the time either, which is like,
Yeah,
what makes it so
exactly.
horrible.
Like, no, you were ready.
Yeah.
It was just the person.
Yeah.
It was the person.
I made a bad choice at the right time.
So if any of you ever find yourself in a tent with a person, with other people in the tent, and this person happens to be 6 years older than you, you probably shouldn't have sex with them at that exact moment. Right? Okay.
You're not wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So if you ever like are starting to have sex with someone and you think this may end horribly, which most people don't think that when they're about to have sex, let's be honest, but just always be conscious of your comfort level.
No one expects a dog to shit on the rug, so.
God damn. Well, I was an idiot and left the fucking food out. Like, I just, to this day, I'm just like, who the fuck leaves out, like, a whole pizza and a box of chicken wings for the dog?
I mean,
like, who?
I've done that kind of stupid stuff after my first time.
Okay, yeah.
So when the sex gets initiated, all the judgment gets clouded and things just begin to happen.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all.
I blame myself. I'm still just not over that. I'm like, why did I do that? So, like, tips to help you, besides the comfort level and the person, like, having the right person is great when you lose your virginity. Like, having a person that respects you and is really, like, they care for you and want to make sure that it all goes well for you is really, it's a plus. It's great, right? Like, when I lost my virginity, it was a constant, like, you know, it was, are you okay? Like, they were checking on me. They're like, are you all right? Like, you know, does this feel good? And I lied because it hurt like a bitch. But,
Sounds like my anal story. Are you okay? You're crying.
So
Are
if
you
you
all
haven't
right?
if you haven't listened to our anal episode, go listen to it because there's more just awful, awkward stories from Mason.
Yeah.
Other things to help. Lube. Holy shit. Fucking use lube. Like, I should just start a relationship with lube.
Same.
But use lube, but also use condoms so you don't transmit STIs or get someone pregnant because that can be quite a damper in a fun party. But if you're using condoms, which you should be, don't use oil-based lube because that eats through latex. So please use water-based lube. You think that's general knowledge, but it's actually really not for a lot of people. So lube is super helpful. Sometimes it helps to insert, if you're having vaginal sex, it helps to insert more slowly and cautiously and not do so much of a thrusting jackhammer the first time. But that's kind of what happens. But it always just helps to check on your partner, regardless of their gender or what position they are taking in the act of sex you're having, just to make sure that they are okay. Mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that.
Do you think if you were, let's just say you were on top during your first time, do you think it would have been better for you?
I was on top during my third time. It was within 24 hours. If I've been on top, probably not. And I only say this because I had always imagined my first time with me bottoming.
Okay.
Because I felt less confident with all of that.
Right.
And being on top can get awkward sometimes with just getting it in. And I feel like that would have made the situation more awkward because we already had trouble with both of us being virgins getting in with me laying down.
Right. Okay.
Right? So, like, because we started with both of us on my bed and then eventually had to migrate to me with my legs almost hanging off the side of my bed and him standing up because that was just made it easier for us. And, like, our sex ended up being amazing. I was with him for a while. So our sex ended up being great, really compatible. But,
I was going to say, I want to make a point. When he stepped in the dog shit, was he wearing shoes or was he barefoot?
no, he was barefoot.
Okay, so I just want you to know. That, did you see him clean his feet?
No.
Okay.
However, I do believe he did.
Oh, see, I just want you to know
I
right
do
now,
believe he did.
he did the quickest, sloppiest, most half-assed it'll do job of removing that dog shit on his foot. He did it just enough that you wouldn't smell it when he got on top of you. So I just want you to think about that, going back in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to ruin it or anything, but I was just
Thank
thinking
you.
about that. I was like, if I was in his situation,
Thank you.
I hate to say it,
He was-
but that dog shit would be the least of my concerns. I would have
Yeah,
like found like
he-
a paper towel, done like a
Yeah,
quick
I
rub
think
down,
that's what he
maybe in
did.
between the toes, and I would have been gone.
I think that's what he did, but I think we were still in that positioning where his feet were on the floor because he was standing up.
Okay. Well then,
So they didn't get in my bed.
hey, there you go.
Yeah, but he was a pretty clean person, so pretty clean guy. And then afterwards, for women, okay, so I know I'm talking about women a lot, but I'm pretty, like, 99% sure our demographics are women. Like, our listeners are, like, women.
Right.
So, after having sex for the first time, first of all, if you bleed, that doesn't mean anything's wrong. When you lose your virginity, if you bleed. It doesn't mean anything's wrong, but you're not always going to bleed. It just depends on the person. Also, it doesn't hurt for everybody. There's no fucking breaking hymen shit. There's no popping fucking cherries. There's none of that bullshit. The hymen is a piece of flexible skin. I wish I could do a visual right now, but it stretches. It never breaks. There's no popping. There's none of that. Don't expect to hear a popping balloon when he inserts it, right? It's a stretching. And the hymen always is stretching when you have sex. Like, the hymen is not, like, outstretched all the time. So it's not like the more sex you're having, the more loose you are. That's not how that happens. The hymen will become more loose as you age, though. But the hymen could be more tight the first time you have sex because, a full penis hasn't been inserted into it. And that can cause, like, more of a hurting situation. And it's more likely to... You can't really tear the hymen, but it's more likely to cause unnecessary friction if you don't use lube. Because, a lot of times when women have sex, they're just not wet enough, especially if you're nervous, Lube just always just makes things so much better. Like, lube is literally my best friend. I just love it so much. But it also helps really for girls or anyone looking to be penetrated, losing, like, their virginity in that sense, to be penetrated, masturbation, and inserting, like, fingers. And I think that's why there was less of a tearing feeling for me. I don't know what was up with that sharp, weird pain I was experiencing. I have no clue to this day. I should probably look into that. But I've never experienced it again. So I think it might have been the whole friction, like, pain, but it was just a different pain than I had thought. But by inserting your fingers and, like, spreading them out and, like, stretching around, maybe playing around if you purchase, like, vibrators or dildos or something, like, playing around with those, that can definitely help prepare you. And I definitely made sure I was prepared as well in that sense. And it does help. It does.
Agreed.
Yeah. For all the times you've been penetrated, right?
Yeah, totally.
Totally. So we're definitely going to be running over time. We're already at like 53, 54 minutes right now of this episode. At least judging off of what I have right now. An actual time with this actual published episode will be at like 52 minutes. But we sent out a form this last week for people to submit their virginity stories. And we received one response, which is shitty. Fuck all the listeners. I'm just kidding. But Sam responded with his story. And it's a pretty good story. I'm going to just read through it really quick. And he asked a really great question at the end that I figured, we could kind of end the podcast with answering the question about virginity. Or it's more about sex. So, Sam said, a few years ago when I was almost 18, I met the girl of my dreams. Even if I was unsure about how much better it would turn out than anything I could have dreamed. We had been dating for over a year and it was summertime, which of course means everything is hotter, pools, lakes, and especially the back of a car. It was a beautiful moment after so much time together. I could see more than just the memories we shared, but the future and many, many more memories to come. So during a backseat excursion by the lake, the clothes came off. She was so beautiful. Let's see. And then he goes in describing her body, but I'm just going to skip that. It's pretty exciting from a guy's perspective because you want to be delicate and not hurt her in any way, but it feels so good that you want nothing more than to shove it in over and over again. I'm sure I was probably awkward about it, but I mean, for any guy's first time, I'm sure it's a different feeling. Sticking a sensitive dick where it never has been before and coming, which is amazing. But I think more often than that is what it felt right after sealing all the past we had and making a commitment to a long future ahead of us. I'm pleased to say that we're still together, and I hope we will always be. And the sex, let's just say that it's summer year-round for us. And he put a winky face.
Well, that's good.
And then he said, your thoughts on the physical versus emotional / spiritualness of sex. And I thought that that'll be like our answers to that, because sex is honestly so much more than the physical aspect of it. And you can make it just physical. There's a way to do that. But for a lot of people, when they lose their virginity, with the lack of experience, it's more you're just looking to do it and not be in control of just the physical. So let's give our thoughts on the physical versus emotional or spiritualness. I like how Sam said spiritualness of sex. So whoever wants to start, go for it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think during my first time was more or less just a purely physical thing. I mean, we weren't really like emotionally invested in each other as much as we were just kind of, wanting to do that. I think the emotional aspect of losing my virginity at that moment definitely came after. Long after it all actually happened. And I think that's because you finally begin to understand the repercussions of what you've done. Now, of course, if you like stay in a relationship with that person for however long after, years even, that's good. That's great. Good for you. But I mean, for me, that wasn't the case. It was almost as if from that moment, almost like within a month of that night, we slowly began to like drift apart and see each other less.
Yeah.
I don't really know why. We both had a part in it, but I think emotionally nothing really surfaced until afterwards. But I think sex itself is definitely an emotional tie between people. And I think it's an emotional tie that, whether we like it or not, does remain for the rest of our lives.
With the partners you've had sex with.
There will always be someone, they'll always have in your life that little extra special, piece of the story that is your biography.
That is your sex biography.
Right.
Autobiography if you're writing it yourself.
There you go. And
beautiful.
I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I definitely believe there are more emotional aspects to sex than some people may think, and that I'm still a firm believer in losing your virginity to the right person. Just not necessarily that you have feelings for them or that you're romantically involved with them, but that you feel comfortable with them. Because a lot of people that I know personally, really, they really regret who they lost their virginity to, instead of how necessarily they really wish they could have shared that moment with someone else, or whoever they lost their virginity to put them in a bad situation, or they found themselves in a bad situation afterwards. So I think it's just very important to consider, whom you're losing your virginity to. I'll be grammatically correct. Who versus whom. Nobody gives a fuck except me. But yeah, so there's definitely, but you can still definitely make it just a physical thing. And the best thing for me is just, honestly, with hookups, basically finding someone that I wouldn't be attracted to emotionally.
Right.
And then I'm just attracted to them physically. And that's where Tinder just works out perfectly.
You go, Mia.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I like to think I'm a Tinder professional, except that's not something I should brag about. Yeah, so with that being said, we do need to end today's episode. There's so much more I want to talk about, but it's almost an hour long, and I don't want to bore anybody. So we have told you our sex stories, our virginity stories. Amber, are you still alive? Are you asleep?
Yeah, I am. I'm just listening.
She's just like, I'm just here. But you gave some great input tonight. I really enjoyed hearing your side of things, Amber and Mason. Thank you again for sharing that story. Okay, go get you some alcohol. And I'm going to hit the sack sometime in the next 2 hours, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So we'll be seeing you guys next week for episode 9, the topic of which I do not remember or have come up with yet. I will be seeing everyone then. Remember, stay sexy.